New Cardi Kaizoku video. Need to watch.
Hi, Anata.
Cardi Kaizoku.
This video is sponsored by Card Market, Europe's largest online marketplace for trading card games. This video is sponsored by Sleeve Chief. Do you have it? Guts! Sleeve Chief is releasing their Black Warrior collection. It includes their Berserk full 3D metal deck box, the Endless War Bloody Dark Art cloth playmat, the Berserk Dark Art hollow sleeves, Darkest Night Dark Art border sleeves. All of this is out now on their website, and as always, use code CARD Kaizoku for 5% off your order. And if enough of you use my promo code, maybe I'll start reading Berserk. I know I should, but I'm lazy. Alright, in today's video, we're going to be doing a boss monster tier list. Should I call them monsters? This isn't Yu-Gi-Oh! Boss character. So this is anything that's a 8 drop or higher in the One Piece trading card game. Originally, I was going to do 7 and higher, but then as I was adding these from like 10 to 9 to 8, I was already at like 56 items on this list, so I don't want to add 7 onto that. 7 cost, right? I think that would pump this list up to like the 80s. So yeah, I just didn't want this video to be too long, so we're going to keep it at 8 drop or higher. And here's how we're going to be defining the tier list criteria here. So S tier is anything that's meta defining. This is a like auto include in the decks that they're run in. And yeah, pretty much they warp or they form what the meta is. A is a nice tech option, right? These are boss monsters that are great additions to decks, but they're not 4-ofs in a particular deck, or they're not in every single list for a particular leader. Then we have rogue boss characters. These are characters that are in like the less popular like off meta decks, but they're like necessary in those off meta decks. Then we have C, nice try. These are boss monsters that I think they had something interesting like going for them, but they didn't pan out the way that the designers potentially like expected them to, right? So I like their general concept, but yeah, execution wise it didn't really end up making a good character. And then D, doo-doo, that's just like the worst of the worst for the 8 drops or higher. So yeah, with that in mind, let's jump into the tier list here. We have it in order of, I believe it's by set and then by color as well. So the first one up here is OP01, Eustace Captain Kid. So 8 drop, 8k power. And yeah, he is pretty meta defining, right? Bonnie runs him. Though as of currently, it's more of a tech card. I don't think every Bonnie runs him anymore. And then when Uta was meta, the film Uta, he was meta for that deck as well. So if I'm basing it off of current meta, current status, which includes up to OP09. So because of that, since yeah, Kid isn't running every Bonnie deck anymore, who is the premier green deck, I'm gonna have to put him in tech. Moving on to 9 cost Mihawk. So Mihawk, it's a 9 drop that bottom decks a 7 cost. I think at the moment nobody runs it. And even when he was the most popular, at his most popular, he was running like Sakazuki, right? In OP05, OP06. And he's not running Boa at the moment. So I'm gonna have to go with nice try for him, right? Because he's not even using any rogue decks at the moment. I like his design, right? A big body that bottom deck's another thing out, but 7 drops seems to be a stat line that isn't too relevant anymore. So up next we have 10 cost Kaido. So 10 cost Kaido, if you minus 6 stun, you just board wipe the whole board. At the moment, only starter deck 4 Kaido leader can run it with the Black Maria kind of synergy there. So, is Purple Kaido even considered rogue at the moment? I don't even think he's rogue, so I'm gonna have to put it in nice try. I think the character itself is pretty good. There's just no like deck that he can thrive in at the moment, right? If he could be using that purple black Luffy deck, that might make him okay, but yeah, it's Animal Kingdom leaders only, and at the moment there aren't any great ones. So up next to round off OP01, we have Shanks. So 9 cost, 10k rush attacker, and when attacking, opponent can't activate blocker if it's a 2k or less, which is I think kind of irrelevant. Most decks don't even run 2 cost blockers anymore, except for like Bonnie with the Rosinante. So I don't know, I'm torn between nice try and doo-doo, because he at least still has rush, and I do believe he was used in like OP01, like the starter deck 1 Luffy deck way back. So we'll put it in nice try. I wish his ignore blocker ignored like a higher stat line blocker. That would make him a little better, right? If it was like 5k or less at least, that way 6k blockers at least can stop him, and then anything other than that he can like mow through. Okay, we got like 50 more of these to go, so let's try to go a little quicker here. So up next is OP02, Edward Newgate, 9 cost 10k power on play, Buffy leader 2k, and then as an addition to that, right, you get done times 2 when attacking. You can KO a 3k power or less. Yeah, great offensive and defensive card. It was ran in a plethora of red decks. whether it was Luffy or Zoro or even Whitebeard himself, and then Red Purple Luffy. So I'm gonna have to put him as meta defining, right? Because he's used in meta decks. Though as of recently, there aren't any. But Red Purple Luffy is showing up in OP09. It's a top 5-ish deck. So yeah, I would put Whitebeard here. Then up next we have Odin, A-cost Odin, AK power, and then yeah, 3 Dawn to untap himself, and if he dies, you play a 3-cost Wano from your deck. I do believe he was only run in Kinemon in OP02, but he was meta at that point, but since then, he has not. And one set out of the 8 that we've had, 9 if you count EB01, where would you put Odin in that case? Was he even used in the red-green Odin deck? I don't think he was. So I'm gonna have to put him in Nice Try. Right, I like what he does. He can attack twice. That's great to have it built into a character, and then he even replaces himself when he dies. I think there was just no deck that he fit in. So character itself is great. There's just no leader that can utilize him to his full potential. Next up, we have Brindy World. So 8k AK power. It costs AK power. Activate main if you Dawn -8. He gives himself 792,000 power, which makes him a 800,000 power character, which means that your opponent cannot counter out of it, but it can be chump blocked by any cost blocker. Is this a doo-doo card? I mean, I like the meme potential it has, being able to attack for 800k, but that's not a nice try. That's not even like a try at all. So yeah, our first doo-doo card is Brindy World. Up next we have Uta, the secret rare from OP02. So 8 cost AK power. On play Dawn -2. It buffs your leader and all your characters for 1k until the start of your next turn. So yeah, it just makes everything beefy, but Dawn -2. If you're playing it on curve, you're back at 8 next turn. If you're playing it on 10, why don't you just play like a Whitebeard instead to buff yourself to 7k? But yeah, it's in purple. But yeah, this card never saw play at all, even though it's a secret rare. So this is another doo-doo. Up next we have 10 cost Kuzan. So 10 cost Kuzan, 10k power, and then on your turn gives -5 cost everything, and then on play it also KOs a 0 cost. So yeah, I like that. It's a bunch of utility, right? You get minus cost, and you can also kill something. So it's not like a dead card the turn you play him. He at least does something if he potentially dies the turn after. So I think he's like a tech card in Black Yellow Luffy at the moment, but that's kind of it. So would that make him a rogue card? Because he's used in like Zed, who's a rogue off-meta leader. Yeah, and even in Black Yellow Luffy, he's like a 1 of or 2 of, so I'm gonna have to put him in rogue, leaning more towards rogue than a tech option. Up next we have 8 cost Isho, 9k power, Dawn ×1 on your turn, it gives -3 cost everything, and then on play, if your opponent has 6 or more cards, they discard 2. So yeah, this is a prime candidate for tech, right? It's only run in Lucci, I believe. The starter deck 14 Luffy run this. I guess it's like a option. That's why he's an A. He's a tech option. So yeah, it's an optional card in top meta decks. So that's why he deserves to be there, of course. Up next is 8 cost Katakuri. So on play, you can put a character with the cost of 8 or less on the top or bottom of your opponent's of its owner's life area face up. So this targets you or your opponents if you want to heal or if you want to get rid of your opponent's character. In Enel, it is necessary, and in Katakuri, it's optional. So what does that make him? Enel is no longer meta as well, so I guess he would be tech then, right? Right? Because what other decks use him? I guess Purple Yellow Crocodile uses him, and he's a rogue deck. Would that make him more rogue than tech? Yeah, because Pudding doesn't even run him. So maybe he does drop to rogue now. He Fallen from Glory. Up next we have 10 cost Big Mom. So 10 cost Big Mom, 12k power on play, your leader. If your leader is a Big Mom parts type, you can heal one, and then your opponent trashes a life. Yeah, I would have to say this is meta defining, right? Because Katakuri runs her, and then Pudding runs her, and then they're both top meta decks at the moment. Top 10 at least, maybe not top meta, but yeah, she's been relevant. Whenever Katakuri was a strong leader in the meta, she was there, right? It's the auto include in any Big Mom parts type deck. So up next is Banish Luffy. 8 cost, 9k power, just has Banish. So yeah, that's a doo-doo, right? It's 8 cost for like barely any value at all. Even in the deck that he was using, which is like Vivi, who can give him rush, he didn't really do much. I don't think he's even run in Vivi. So up next is 10 cost Doflamingo, 10k power on play. It freezes 3 of your opponent's characters or leaders. They can't untap during the refresh phase. Yeah, this one's like an auto include in every green deck, so it's meta defining for sure. So up next we have 10 cost Kaido, 12k power. It bounces a 8 cost and a 3 cost back to hand. This is only run in Boa, I believe. And Boa is a rogue leader at the moment, so yeah, it's a rogue card for the deck. I think Boa doesn't even need to run this card too, right? Some opt to run the other Kaido that draws you 4 cards. Up next is Ice Oni, who is a combo piece with the Playgrounds event. So on his own, it's doo-doo. And then the combo itself with the playgrounds isn't that great either. So would that make him a nice try though? Because I kind of like the concept of it at least, right? Because whatever this character attacks, it bottom decks if it's a 5 cost or lower. But even then, it's just 5 cost, so it's not like a hard removal or all-encompassing removal. I mean, nah, we'll keep it a doo-doo because yeah, no deck ever ran it besides Queen, I guess. But even within Queen has like a better like deckless playstyle that doesn't include playgrounds. So up next is 8 cost Croc, 9k power. On play, down -2. If your leader is Baroque Works, you can heal 1. And then when your opponent attacks, you can down -1, draw a card, and trash a card to cycle. This is really only used in purple yellow Croc. Purple yellow Croc is always a rogue deck. This is like a necessary card for the deck though, so you're gonna have to put him in rogue. I don't think it deserves to be a nice try because he was at least like an auto include for the deck. Up next we have 9 cost Yamato, 9k power. On play, you can KO a character on your opponent's board with the cost equal to the total of you and your opponent's life added together. And then if you're at 1 or less life, you heal a card from your deck to your life. And yeah, it's auto include in Enel. I've seen Katakuri run it before. What other decks run Yamato? Purple Yellow Croc runs it. He's a rogue deck, so not meta defining. And it's not a tech card in top decks at the moment. So yeah, I think Yamato should be in rogue, right? It's mandatory in Enel, mandatory in Purple Yellow Croc, who are kind of rogue decks at the moment. Oh, I guess it's too late to mention this, but yeah, the order within the tiers don't really matter. I'm just going in order of the cards I have here. So up next we have 8 cost Rosinante, 8k power. On your opponent's turn, if this character is rested, your active characters with the cost of 5 exactly cannot be KO'd by effects, and then on play you can rest this character and play a 5-drop from your hand that is green. So this card is the answer to like Lucci, right? And I guess starter deck 14 Luffy now. You're able to cheat out 2 bodies, an 8-drop and a 5-drop, and then the 5-drop can't be KO'd, so if they spend all the resources to kill Rosinante, you still have a character on board. But other than that, it's only run in Bonnie, who is a top meta deck. It's a tech card for sure, right? It's only good in the black matchup. It's good in every matchup, but it's especially good in the black matchup. That's why we run it. That's as far as the utility of the card goes. Up next we have John Giant, who's just a vanilla. What do we think of vanillas? Are they doo-doo or are they nice try? Actually, I don't even see most decks run 8 cost vanillas. They go up to like 7, right? And that's kind of the hard cutoff. Or is it because there aren't too many in every color? But yeah, I've never seen John Giant run in a deck. Have I? Was this run in Sakazuki? I think John Giant's doo-doo. Maybe if there was like a purple one, it would be like a rogue pick. But I think in blue, 8-drop for a 10k power character that didn't have any other effect isn't gonna cut it. So up next we have 10-drop Kaido, the secret rare one. 12k power. On play, if your opponent has 3 or less life cards, you draw 4 cards. So this is run currently in Doflamingo, who is a rogue leader. It's also run in Boa, who's a rogue leader, so that sounds like a rogue boss monster to me. And even in freaking OP05 Sakazuki, it was a rogue pick as well, right? I remember there was like a finals where it was against a Sakazuki that ran this card and a Sakazuki that didn't run this card, and the one that did run this card won because of the card advantage. But that would put him in tech, but yeah, Sakazuki's like banned now, so I guess he goes to rogue. Up next is 10 cost secret rare Nika Luffy. So 12k power. On play, if you draw -10, you can take another turn and then activate main once per turn. You can tap a Dawn to ramp an active Dawn. So it is used in red purple Luffy. It's used in purple Luffy as a tech choice. It's used in purple black Luffy as a staple. So this I would consider a meta defining card, right? It's running at least 2 top meta decks. Then up next we have Shanks, 10 cost Shanks, OP06. 12k power. On play, you can kill a character on board with 10,000 power or less. And I do believe OP09 Shanks does run this card, but more of a tech as a tech option, right? It's to complement the other Shanks that has rush and gives power down. And this is just to handle your opponent's like 9 cost rush Luffy, stuff like that, or Gekko Moria. And yeah, since he's only run in Shanks, he's a tech option for sure. It would be rogue if it was just red purple Uta and like freaking Vivi. No, Vivi can't use it, just red purple Uta. But since Shanks is the top meta deck, he gets to be in tech. Up next is Aramaki, 8 cost 8k power blocker, and then activate main, you can discard a card from your hand to bottom deck a 2 cost, and then this character gets plus 3k power. So it's kind of like a built-in Houndblaze, but you need cost reduction to utilize with them. At the moment, there's no good like black-blue leader. Maybe Usopp makes this card playable, but he's not released yet. So yeah, this is a doo-doo for sure. Right? I don't think he was even like a viable option for any deck, so I can't even put him in nice try. Even though I kind of like his design, but yeah, he's definitely doo-doo. Up next is 8 cost Gekko Moria. So yeah, Yeah, no introduction here. 9k power. You can play a 4 cost and a 2 cost from your trash. 1 active, 1 rested. You know where he goes. He's freaking meta defining. To be honest, if I could add like a SS tier, he would probably be like the only person there. But I don't have that tier, so yeah, he belongs in S with the other buddies here. He and his chums. Up next we have Judge, 8 cost, 8k power, and then on play you can Dawn -1, trash 2 cards from your hand. Play 4 Germa 66 type characters with 4000 power or less, which is like the non-suited up versions from your discard. They all have to have different names too, and then activate main. You can Dawn -1 to rest up to one of your opponent's Dawn cards. So it is only able to be run in Reiju, and Reiju at the moment is she top meta? I guess, yeah, in 08 she is, in 09 she completely disappears, so what would that make Judge? Somewhere between meta defining and tech. Probably more towards tech, right? Because even within Reiju, you run it as a 2 of, and you only want to keep it in hand against certain matchups, otherwise you chuck it with your German Kingdom stage. Right, it's not Ichiji, right, where you definitely need it in every matchup, so I think tech makes sense for Judge. Up next we have 9 cost Secret Zoro, 9k power. When attacking, if you pay a Dawn you can untap him, and then activate main. If you pay 2 Dawn you can untap him, so you can potentially attack 3 times. In the Western meta at the moment in Bonnie, he is necessary against a lot of decks. In 09, dude, they still run Zoro in 09. So yeah, Zoro might be too slow because Doflamingo is like dominating the meta in 09. Purple Luffy's able to pump up so many bodies, but if you can go to Zoro to stick, he can clear board like no other. I do have to think I have to put him in tech, right? Because the ratio of Zoros like varies between each Bonnie list too, but it's run in each Bonnie list at least as a 1 of, so that make him meta defining. No, I feel like tech makes more sense for me. Up next we have 9 cost Sanji, 9k power. You can reveal top card of your deck. Then if it's a 9 cost or less other than a Sanji, you can play it. And I do believe it's only run in Marco, so it's a rogue pick for sure, because it does really well in that kind of deck. You can cheat out 2 9-drops and control which 9-drop that you play with his effect because of Marco's leader ability. Other than that, there are a few other blue decks that try to utilize them, right? I think even at some point STO3 Crocodile, the starter deck one, try to use the Sanji. Up next we have Dragon, 8 cost 9k power. It has Rush, and then on play give 2 Dawn, rested Dawn to a leader or character. Yeah, he's run in Zoro as a late game option, 2 of though, at most is what I see. It can be run in Bella Betty, but Bella Betty has like a full 4-drop package now, a 3-drop package to utilize with triggers. Is it run in Red, Yellow, Sabo? I don't think so. So what would that make Dragon? A tech card? Right, because yeah, Zoro is meta in 08, but he kind of falls off in 09 because Doflamingo overtakes as the aggro deck. So yeah, tech makes sense for Dragon, for me at least. Up next is Mihawk, 8 cost, 10k power, the OPO7 one, and then on play he draws a card. I don't think he's running any deck, so he might be doo-doo. I know he's good in like sealed, but yeah, this is not a sealed tier list. Then we have 9 cost, 9k power Stussy from OPO7. On play, you can place one of your characters into the trash. KO to one of your opponent's characters. This KO is regardless of cost, but you do need to have something else out on your own board to trash with this effect. This is kind of like a tech option right now. Oh wait, why is Stussy here? Let me move her up. Tech option in Lucci, right? It's not run in starter deck 14 Luffy. So yeah, tech makes sense for that too. Then up next we have OPO7 Sabo, 8 cost, 9k power. On play, you can trash a card from your hand, KO a 5 cost and a 3 cost on board. This is definitely a tech option in Lucci at the moment. Probably starter deck 14 Luffy as well. It kind of does better in like a Perona deck these days. Would this be Rogue then? If it was like 1 set ago, people were running this Sabo more often. So yeah, maybe Sabo goes in Rogue now, if I'm judging it based on current usage. Up next we have 10 cost Ace. So on play, you may add 1 card from the top of your deck to your life, and then if you have 2 or less life cards after this, Ace gains Rush and can attack for 10k. He is used in Pudding. He can be used in Katakuri, I've seen it. He is necessary in Enel, who's a rogue deck. So where would that put Ace? I mean, if it's current Pudding, is he meta defining? I think he's more of a tech card, because yeah, even in some Pudding lists, I see them run Yamato instead of Ace. So tech feels like where I'm comfortable putting him. I don't feel comfortable putting him in S. Now, up next we have 10 cost Newgate from OPO8. So on play, if your leader includes the wipe your card's type and you have 2 or less life cards, till the end of your opponent's next turn, all your opponent's characters cannot attack you unless they first discard 2 cards from their hand. He's a 12k power character. He was supposed to be like a way to buy you another turn, but he can only be used in White Bear Pirates leaders, and then the only blue one at the moment is Red Blue Marco, who is a rogue deck. And even in that rogue deck, this card is not run at all, so he is doo-doo for sure. He does a lot of things, but none of those things seem to help the deck out. Then we have 9 cost Linlin, 9k power on play, down -1. If you treasure card from your hand, you can heal one, and then top or bottom life one of your opponent's 6 cost or less characters. So this is used in pudding, it's used in purple Luffy at the moment until he gets better options. Other than that, what other decks use them? Probably some off-meta purple decks can use them, her pretty well, but because of that, yeah, even in pudding, you want to play your 10 cost big moms more than this. So I put Linlin as a tech card. And then up next we have 9 cost Kaido. To activate main once per turn, you can discard a card from your hand, and then this character, if it was played this turn, you can trash one of your opponent's 7 cost or lower characters, and then discard a card from their hand. I do believe he's also a tech choice in Lucci and starter deck 14 Luffy at the moment, as a 1 or 2 of, just to get rid of your opponent's like unable to be KO'd characters or stuff that you don't want to trigger. They're like on KOs. And he also gets rid of a card in your opponent's hand too. He's nice in Lucci in that like if you attack with your leader and then play Kaido, you can kill your opponent's Gecko Moria and make him discard a card too, right? Because your leader ability makes Gecko into a 7. But yeah, other than that, definitely a tech card. So up next we have Rayleigh. Rayleigh, 8 cost 8k power on play. Choose up to 2 of your opponent's characters until the end of your opponent's next turn. One of them gets -3k, the other one gets -2k, and then you can KO a 3k power character on board. So it's utilized in Shanks pretty well. It's utilized in Marco, who is a rogue deck, and it's utilized in... I even run him in my Zoro deck, so... And he's using Red Purple Luffy too, right? So that makes me think of a meta-defining character. Right? He just does so much. He softens characters up, and then you can use them offensively to like KO something on your opponent's board, or defensively to like make their attacks at you easier to counter against. And then up next we have the secret rare of OP08, 10 cost 12k Kaido and Linlin. So when attacking, if you -10 Dawn, you KO all characters on board, and then you can heal a life, and then your opponent takes a life, and then they have to take the 12k that you're attacking with. So yeah, it's a scary card if you can get it to land, but then if you don't like win at that point, you just kind of flop around with this character out because you don't have anything else after that, and all your Dawn's gone. I would say it's a nice try card, right? I like what it does, but there's no deck that utilizes it too well. I know there's like the Sabo Black Maria combo, but that's just so like inconsistent. So yeah, just the fact that it has to attack, so you need to wait a turn, makes it vulnerable to like being killed, so you lose out on any value that you get. Right, you spend a whole 10 Dawns worth of a turn to play it, and if it dies, they develop something, and then you don't have anything after that. So we're moving on to OP09. So it's Shanks, 10 cost 12k power. All your opponent's characters have -1000 power, and then he has Rush. This is an S tier boss monster, right? It's used in Shanks, who is a top meta deck. It's just great in general. You can use him offensively, defensively, because yeah, that -1k power lasts on your opponent's turn, making it easier for you to defend against your opponent's attacks, and it softens up your opponent's characters to be attacked into. And yeah, just having Rush for 10, it's a strong effect, and he has a vanilla stat line too. Okay, so moving on, we have Audio, 9 cost 9k power on play. If your leader has the Odyssey type, set up 3 of your Dawn is active, and then on your opponent's attack, you can rest one of your Dawn and counter for 2k. So yeah, it's only used in Lim. At the moment, there's only one Odyssey type leader, I believe. But even in Lim, I think most decks don't even run Audio. Oh no, they probably do because there's no options in the deck to fill it out, but I don't know, I feel like that Doflamingo is the best card in a Lim deck over this Audio. So because of that, I'm gonna have to put him in a nice try. Because Lim isn't even a rogue deck, I think, at the moment. Yeah, to be honest, like the most successful Lim lists I see are the ones that ramp to the 9 cost secret rare Zoro. So yeah, maybe they don't run Audio after all, if I remember correctly. And up next we have OP09 Odin, who's just a common 9 cost 10k power, double attack, and then on KO you draw 2 cards and discard a card. Yeah, he doesn't do anything for any deck. Then we have Buggy, 10 cost Buggy, 12k power on play. Return up to one of your opponent's characters to the bottom of their deck. And then if you do not have 5 characters on board with a cost of 5 or more, you also return this Buggy to the bottom of your own deck. So yeah, it's only really feasible to be run in a Buggy deck. And then Buggy himself, kind of a trash leader. Maybe that new promo saves him, right? The one that I don't know how we're gonna get it, but what did it do again? It lets you play out another 6-drop cross-guild character from your hand, and then the character itself can't attack, and then like your opponent's 4 cost or less characters can't attack you, something like that. But yeah, this is just OP09. So current state of Buggy, he is a trash leader. No matter how much you guys tried to tell me he was good in my Buggy videos where I was shit talking him, in the end he does not show up at all in the meta. So you guys were all completely wrong. I was right, Buggy is shit. You guys were just really up on the copium there. Even got me convincing him that maybe he was actually better than I thought. I gave him another shot. He still felt pretty bad. Not as bad as I initially thought, but still pretty bad. So I'll concede that I was too harsh in the first Buggy video, but maybe I wasn't harsh enough in the second one. So, Buggy 10 drop. I would say nice try. Right, it's not completely doo-doo because you do need this card in that deck, but that deck is not doing too hot. Then up next we have Blackbeard 10 cost 12k power blocker. Activate main once per turn if your leader has the Blackbeard card's type, and if this character is played this turn, up to one of your opponent's leaders. Their effects get negated, and then you can pick one of your opponent's characters that can't attack, and the effects are negated until the end of your opponent's next turn. So yeah, Blackbeard, I think it's a top meta deck in 09, and this is like the card that you want to stall to get to play back to back. It just does so much. Negates Ednal's leader ability, stuff like that, or like Nami's leader ability. Right? If you play this Blackbeard and you make the Nami counter to mill themselves to 0, they actually lose the game instead of win. And yeah, 12k blocker, that's an insanely beefy blocker stat line to be at. And the outright like erases a character for a turn. It can't attack, it can't block. So because of that, it is a meta-defining boss monster here. And up next we have Secret Rare Goldie Roger. So 10 cost, 13k power, it has rush. Then if your opponent activates blocker, if you or your opponent has 0 life, you just win the game. So sounds strong on paper, but it ended up being just a tech option, right? It's not a auto 4 of included in any red deck. I think at most we see 2 in Red Purple Luffy and Shanks, and it's just that option against like blocker heavy decks. But yeah, it is run in top meta deck, so it has to be a tech tier level character. And then up next we have 9 cost Luffy, 10k power. On play, you can turn 1 Dawn. And then if you do, you can draw a card, and then this character gains rush for the turn. So it is used in Purple Luffy, it's used in Purple Black Luffy, it's used in Red Purple Luffy. That's 3 meta decks, so I think this has to be meta defining, right? The ratios can vary, but it is included in each deck. But that's my reasoning for Zoro though. Now, but I feel like the other Luffy decks depend on this 9 cost Luffy, so we'll put him in S. Because I like Luffy. More than Zoro though? Is that what I'm gonna conclude from that? No, this Zoro was run in more decks besides Bonnie. Maybe I'd put him up higher, but since this Purple Luffy's run in 3 meta decks, that's why he's objectively 1 tier higher. And then we're moving into the promo cards and the starter decks, I believe. So we have this 8 cost 9k power Kaido. End of your turn, you can ramp 1 active Dawn. So yeah, that sucks. You don't really need active Dawn ramping when you're already at enough to play at 8 drop, right? You go to 9 from this. You can Dawn minus to get more value out of the like ramping after that, but that doesn't feel as impactful. Up next we have Vanilla Shanks. Now, was this Vanilla even run in the Big Red decks when it was like the Big Red playstyle? I still think they only went up to like 7 with the Ben Beckman or Silver's Rayleigh. Who was it that was like the 7 drop? It was Ben Beckman, right? Wait, Silver's Rayleigh, it wasn't even in Shanks' crew. Oh, it was Yasop. It was Yasop or Ben Beckman, right? The 6 drop or 7 drop, but I don't think people ran the 8 drop. But people did run a lot of Ben Beckman. So that might make Shanks a doo-doo tier character. Yeah, it was never run. And then we have... Oops, I missed one. Then we have Kaido here, 8 cost 10k power. If there are 10 Dawn on your opponent's board, this character cannot be KO'd. I don't think this was run in any deck, and its effect doesn't really help it much. So moving on, we have Vanilla, 10 cost 12k power Luffy, promo card. But even in purple decks, I don't think this card was ever run. So it's a doo-doo tier. Then we have the green version of that card. No, this is 8 cost 10k power. It's a film character, but it's not used in any film decks, so that's also doo-doo. Then we have starter deck 4, 9 cost Kaido, 10k power, Dawn -5 on play. You can KO a 6 cost, and then this character gains rush. At the moment in Purple Luffy, he is meta defining, and then I think Purple Luffy is a top 5 or top 10 deck on the 08 meta at the moment. In 09 though, Purple Luffy gets better options. Are there any other purple decks that use Kaido? I guess Purple Black Luffy can run Kaido, because you can recover the Dawn -5 pretty easily. Other than that, would that make a meta defining though? Meta defining 9 cost Kaido. I'm conflicted. Now, if I take 09 into account and Luffy doesn't run it anymore, I'm gonna have to put him in tech just because of the clairvoyance I have into 09. Up next, we have 8 cost Bullet, 10k power, activate main. You can Dawn -4 and tap 2 of your opponent's 6 cost or less, and then this character gains double attack. So yeah, this is definitely a tech card in Purple Luffy. Do I want to put Bullet and Kaido in the same tier though? That doesn't feel right. Okay, we'll move Kaido up to S. I have to take 08 into account too, right? Okay, up next we have 9 cost Shanks from starter deck 8. So 10k power on play. If you trash a card from your hand and kill all your opponent's characters with a cost of 1 or less, you do need to come with this with a mass cost reduction character, like the 10 cost Kuzan. But yeah, this card never saw play, I don't think. Not even in the deck that he came from, the starter deck 8 Black Luffy, never ran it. Then we have 10 cost 11k Rush Luffy from starter deck 10. Once per turn, if your opponent activates blocker, you can KO a character with AK power on their board. I don't think this card was ever run in Red Purple Luffy. Maybe it did at first when people didn't have other choices, but yeah. Does that make him doo-doo? He was never run in any deck. Or is it nice try? Nah, he's doo-doo. There are just too many other better options for late game in red at the moment. Then up next we have starter deck 14, 8 cost 10k power Luffy. So if you have a cost 10 or greater character on board, this character gains rush. Yeah, this sucks ass. And then lastly we have starter deck 16, Shanks, 9 cost 11k power. On play, key up to one of your opponent's rested characters. So this is a mandatory card in Bonnie at the moment, and Bonnie's still top meta, right? So that make him meta defining? I think so, and it gives like a Film Uta deck, a late game option that doesn't whiff. Okay, so we went over all 56 cards here. This is what our boss monster tier list is looking up to be. And these are all like knee-jerk reactions. I think if I put more time into thinking all these through, maybe some of these might shift up or down one tier. At most, I don't think it's going to shift more than that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of these boss monsters. Let me know if you disagree on some of these placements. And yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. If you're not already subscribed, I would appreciate it. This is a really long video, so I hope you don't mind listening to me yap about these expensive cards. If you have any other tier list suggestions you want me to try to do in the future, I could try to entertain that idea too. So yeah, let me know your suggestions in the comments below. Okay, bye.
Card D Kaizoku.